Hi guys, it's Sarah. Today is the day after Christmas, December 26th, you know. Anyway, so I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas, and I know I did. I had fun at my brother's, and it was just amazing. We ate food, we got presents, I got AirPods, I'm happy. And I also got some books. Should I show one of my books? Nah, we'll do that in another video. So by the title above, I am doing some of my favorite reads of 2019, and I actually filmed this like I think earlier in the month, but that was definitely like a very stressful one to edit, and I didn't even get halfway through, and I was just like, no, I cannot edit this. So I picked out some new books. I think I picked out about 7, and yeah, because the other one was top 10 out of 2019, so yeah, so this is just a chill version. So let's start off with my most recent one, which is one that I literally finished Christmas Eve, Queen of Air and Darkness. This can also go for the Dark Artifices series. And I was going to choose Lord of Shadows because if you've read it, you know that it's amazing. I was sketchy going into this because I've heard not so great things about it, that it's not that great. And I'm not that much of a critical reader, so I can see why people think things. I can see where their problems are at, but I'm not that critical, so I don't really care if it's a good story, and if I like it, if I'm immersed into it, then I'm totally fine with it. Honestly, I think this big book brought me out of my slump, and that is crazy. Like that never happens, but whatever. I listened to it on the audiobook, and I also tabbed a little bit. I just figured that this one was slightly better than Lord of Shadows just because I can remember more what happened in this one, and it was unexpected. I thought that the books were going one way, but it didn't, and it went a completely different way, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I can't really say anything about it, but it was one of my favorites. So if you do get to reading it, please tell me your thoughts, because there's people that say it's not worth it. It's not worth the 800 pages, which sure, they could have cut it down a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it. I just love Emma and Julian. I always have. I love Magnus and Alec, and I love the Clary and Jace perspectives, because you do get a couple of Jace and Clary, or I think it's mainly Jace. I don't think there was many of Clary in this, but there was a Jace perspective, which I tabbed and which I loved, because it was just going back to the Mortal Instruments, and as much as that series didn't really faze me as much, because it's definitely my least of Shadowhunter series, I still love Jason Clary, and I love going back, and I love it. I just love it. There were some confusions about this girl here. I had a little bit of confusions. Maybe that could have been because of the audiobook. I don't really know, but it was one of my favorites, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. So this next book, I don't really think a lot of people talk about as much as they should. This book is for sure one of my favorites. I cried, and it takes a lot for a book to make me cry. Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. So there are 4 characters. There's Florian, Amelia, Joanna, and Alfred, I think that's his name, taking place in 1945. And each character has their own secrets, all their own regrets and guilts. They're trying to find this ship, or to go to the ship that promises safety. It was deadlier than the Titanic, and this ship was supposed to hold about 1,000, but it was holding like 10,000, and there was a lot of deaths, a lot of things, and it made me really sad. But I loved the romance that you kind of get, this brewing romance that you get in this tragic moment in time. And I loved Amelia's character as well. To me, she seems to be the most tragic, hurted character. If you read it, you know why. The Holocaust really intrigues me for some reason. Like, it just doesn't come into my mind the reason why people would try to get rid of like a whole race or religion, or it's just crazy. And I'm not going to go into it because then that'll be a big long video, and I don't want to film that. I don't want to edit that. Next book is one that I also really loved. I loved all of these books, so I'm not going to keep saying that. It's The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I have actually read A Darker Shade of Magic before I read this. Actually, A Darker Shade of Magic and Vicious before I read this one. I haven't read like Vengeful or the last two in the Darker Shade of Magic. I enjoy those books, but this one is the winner. Honestly, I can't really tell you what the plot is, but I tabbed it like crazy. There's two characters. One is August Flynn, who is a monster, and he is one of the rarest monsters out there. Or him and his like brother and sister that are like him. Kate Harker, who is sort of on the opposite side of things, where her dad is against monsters. They're sent to high school together, and he is sort of spying on her. She's sort of trying to figure out who he is, and they just sort of go on this kind of adventure. Not really, because they're kind of running from something, but I just loved it, and I think you should read it because it's amazing. And that's pretty much all I could say on it, just because that's all I remember on it. I did make a vlog on reading this book, so I'll try and link that down below. Definitely deserves to be on my top 7, I guess you could say. The next book is a shocker to nobody. Like literally nobody. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, whichever one, but it smells like Harry Potter. Like, if I smell this, I'm like, oh, I'm reading Harry Potter. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's just me. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book. It was just amazing seeing little Harry and little Hermione and Ron. And although I loved the movies, because I did watch the movies before I read the books, but currently I am reading the books and then watching the movies right after, if that makes sense. They go way in depth about it, and I just love the aspect. I love the sorting ceremony, sorting hat ceremony chapter. I actually tabbed that. Yep, I tabbed it, the sorting hat. But yeah, so I just really loved it. Okay, so I was watching Books with Chloe's with her boyfriend, how they were wrapping up his like couple months of reading, and they were talking about this and they made some great points. So I'm going to say this, but know that I'm not being original about it. It was from them. In the book, you can actually see a distinct moment that Hermione and Ron and Harry became friends, how mean Snape is in this one. But I like Snape in the movies. I don't like Snape in the book. Draco as well. Draco was a little bitch, and Hagrid is just amazing. And also the audiobook is amazing as well. The reader is perfect at reading Hagrid's because he just sounds spot on. Like, it's Hagrid. But yeah, so I just really loved this. It really gives me those magical vibes. This also can go for the 1st through 4, like till The Goblet of Fire, because that's the last book that I read, and I'm currently on the 6th one, but I haven't started yet. So yeah, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I'm going to leave it at that. It definitely deserves to be on this list. 5 out of 5 stars, yes. Next book is Wicked Fox by Kat Chow. I didn't tab it, but I did really love it because it was very different from any books that I've read. This is sort of like a K-drama in a book, I guess you could say. A lot of people compare it to that, and plus the cover is just gorgeous. Anyway, this follows a girl who is a 9-tailed fox, and she feeds on the souls of men. Going to a high school, and she meets this guy, forgot his name. I literally forgot both of their names, I'm sorry. And they sort of have this brewing friendship slash love. She's very serious and he's not so serious. He can be serious, but he's very lighthearted about things as she is not. They really mesh together because that's what she needs. She needs like a lighthearted person in her life. There's just a lot more going on. I honestly can't remember, which I'm so sad about, but I do remember loving this, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. And also, I just never read anything like this. It's so different from anything that I've read. Like, I can tell you that I would probably like K-dramas now, so that's something. I recommend it. I'm sorry that I cannot say anything else, but I recommend it, so please try it out. Now, these last two are ones that no one will be surprised about, and this first one, the one that I'm going to show you right now, like, take a random guess on what book it is that everybody has loved this year. Just take a random guess. I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, it's Daisy Jones and the Six. by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I liked it, and I cannot wait for the TV show. I think it's becoming a TV show, not a movie, because that is going to be bomb and I will be watching it. So, just letting everybody know. It's about this band that's really, really famous in the 70s, I believe, about like in the 60s, called Daisy Jones and the Six, and how they randomly broke up. Nobody talked about it until this interview. I absolutely loved it. Definitely had a slow start, but I love Daisy's character and I love Billy as well. I love the relationship aspect that Daisy and Billy had. Like, each character has their individual problems, their individual stories, and what I like about this is that one character will be like, oh, she was wearing a blue dress, and the next character will be like, oh, she was wearing a yellow dress. So it's like little things like that, like little tweaks in the story that you can kind of picture yourself. Like, you can pick whether she was wearing a blue dress or a yellow dress. It was really cool in that aspect. And also it is an interview form. The audiobook makes it amazing. This does have harsh alcohol usage because this is the 60s and they were very, very much on drugs, abuse, and that sort of stuff. So there you go, that's your warning for it. It was amazing and you should definitely check it out because it's amazing. But you already knew that because of the hype. Now this last one, that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, but I haven't gotten to Queen of Nothing. But anyway, we're just gonna talk about Cruel Prince for a moment because this is, out of the two, my favorite. So The Cruel Prince was super action-packed, and before this I was actually holding off on this because I read Throne of Glass and I haven't read all of them. I read the first and the second one and I started the third one, but I didn't finish it because I actually lost it while I was in Florida. And so then I started listening to the audiobook and only the audiobook, which made me really, really confused. Decided to drop it, and also reading them physically for me was very, like, it took a lot of time and energy out of me, and I just didn't really enjoy it as much. I thought that it was a lot more work to read it than to like the story. That is what made me hold off on this Fae, because it's a Fae story and so is Throne of Glass. But I was totally wrong, and I'm so happy that I was totally wrong. I was very surprised at the gore in this book. It was very gory, definitely like a Game of Thrones moment where you're just like, kind of gross, but kind of cool. This is about a girl, Jude, and her twin sister. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry, I keep blanking on these names, but she has a twin sister and they are human and living in this Fae world with her sister, who is half human, half Fae. And her sister is supposed to be like the heir, so that's why they came over to Fae, because also the king that she's the heir of murdered the parents, so he took over for them, and yeah, so he's the new dad. But anyway, the Fae don't like humans, and especially with Jude being in the world, they make fun of her, especially Carden and his little posse. I really enjoyed this book. I liked Jude's character. She was very strong-willed, very much her own person. Nobody can tell her anything. She makes her own decisions, but she can be very gullible, or what's the word? Naive, maybe. So that's one thing. She can be like a little over naive, a little over gullible. Definitely not number one, but one of my favorites. And I'm actually happy that I didn't number them because I wouldn't be able to, and that would be very stressful for me. So we're just trying to be stress-free. Yes. So those are one of my top favorite books of this year. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you had an amazing Christmas. I hope that you are going to have an amazing 2020. I hope your reading plans are amazing, and I will see you in my next video. I will talk to you later.